Welcome. My name is David Ireland, and this video is brought to you by the Los Angeles School of Guitar, www.laschoolofguitar.com. Today I'm going to be teaching you a little bit about ear training, what it is, why it's important to work on it, and a couple of easy basic exercises to get you started developing your ears. As a prerequisite for this lesson, I'm going to assume that you know a few basic chords and how to play an A blues. If you don't know that yet, there's a ton of resources out there that'll get you started. But for this lesson, you need to know an A7 chord, a D7 chord, and an E7 chord. That's pretty much it. So let's start with first asking ourselves, what is ear training? And why do I need to work on it? Well, ear training is really developing the skills necessary to recognize and recreate sounds that you hear. That's basically it in a nutshell. So for example, if I played a chord on the guitar, a person with really good ears could tell me a lot of things about that chord. Is that major? Is it minor? What inversion is it in? All these different things you can tell just by listening to the chord, all right? The exercise I'm going to show you today is based on a 12-bar blues in the key of A. It consists of the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. And this is a really good place to start because so much of popular music incorporates this chord progression. Now, we're going to begin by learning to hear and identify the root movement in a 12-bar blues chord progression. Now, the root is basically the bottom note of the chord, and it's the most fundamental way of learning how to identify a chord progression is with the root. So, we're going to start just by playing an A7 chord with the open A string on the bottom, and that open A string is the root of the chord. And we're going to start by just trying to sing and match the pitch of this note. Now, if you're not accustomed to singing, don't worry. This is not to be have a good sounding voice or be a good vocalist. This is merely just to try to train your ears so you can hear pitch. So you just want to sing that root. And if you're having trouble hitting that note right off the bat, what you want to do is sing any note that comes out and then try to slide into the note until you hear that you're matching the right pitch. So here I'll sing another note. And if you've never done this before, it might take a little bit of time and it might be uncomfortable, but stick with it. I promise with enough time you'll get it. So we're going to go back to the A7, singing that A root. The next chord is a D7, it's the 4 chord. And we have that open D string in the bottom, and we're going to sing that root. By singing, it really helps us hear in our ear what the note is. It really makes that note stick deep inside of our brain. Okay, so then we're going to go back to the A7. Alright, and then the last chord is the E7, the 5 chord. And we have this E here, which is the root. And you want to sing that E root. And back to the A. Now by playing the chord and playing the note on the guitar and singing it, you're really strengthening the connection between what you hear in your head and what you play on the instrument. And that's really one of the best things you can do in practicing. It's going to help you express your ideas. I can't recommend it enough. Okay, so once you're familiar with singing the roots of all these chords, you want to go ahead and do it in time. So we'll just play through a simple blues. It's not about playing anything complicated on the guitar. It's about really hearing the root movement and singing it correctly. Okay, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ba, 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 ba. All right, great. So once you're at that point where you can sing along with the root as you're playing on the guitar, the next step is to actually play the chord without the root on the guitar, but still sing the root, so that you have to rely on your ear to hear the root. So it's taking it one step further, so that you're not able to get your note from what you're hearing on the guitar. You have to rely on yourself. Okay? So we'll start with the A7. And I'm only playing the upper portion of the chord. I'm not playing the root. Okay, and you want to do that with all the chords in the progression. So we'll go through it again. This time, I'll be providing the root, and I'll just be playing the upper part of the chord on the guitar. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Ba, 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 ba. So if you practice this exercise enough, what's going to start to happen is you'll internalize the sound of a blues progression, so that when you hear one on the radio, you'll say, oh, that sounds familiar. I know what that is. That's the 12-bar blues. And what you should do for the next step is to start doing the same exercise with other songs that you're playing. Practice playing the chords of a song you're learning, and start singing the roots of the chords as you play, and you'll start to hear similarities, and you'll start to make connections between different songs, because a lot of songs, especially pop songs, have very similar common chord progressions. And if you can start to identify these chord progressions, it's really going to take your playing to a new level. So I hope this was helpful. Again, for more information for music students, check out www.laschoolofguitar.com. Thanks a lot.